So talking about diffusion. What is diffusion in biology? Basically, diffusion is the movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. This is the definition of diffusion. Since definitions will be asked in the exam, so you need to remember this one. Okay?
Okay.
Movement of substances from a region of high concentration. A region of high concentration can be considered like uphill. So going from uphill to region of low concentration, which is downhill. And you know that if you were rolling something from uphill like a stone, going downhill does not take much of effort. In fact, it already possesses the kind of energy to go from uphill to downhill, right? So the same applies with diffusion. When we are going from a region of high concentration to low concentration, the disorder of the molecule by itself gives that particular energy to go into from regular order to disorder, like from a region of high concentration, which is rather considered like a regular order, then to greater disorder, which is getting mixed and getting distributed everywhere. So it kind of already possesses that kind of energy to do it. But why do particles do it? Remember, particles always have random motion. Okay, they are moving in random direction and they are bumping with one another all the time. So whenever they bump, they change direction, they move in another direction. Okay, whenever they bump, they change direction, they move in another direction. Now, for that reason, since there is random movement of particle, so molecules move down the concentration gradient as a result of random movement. So remember about this particular key word, random movement of particles. Okay. In a region where there is high concentration, for example here, all right, the glucose, it will go through the cell membrane to a region of lower concentration. Previously, the same place represented in three different directions, in three different time. All right. As you can see, previously there was none. There was no glucose molecule here, so there was none. Then some glucose molecule actually started to diffuse in because always the concentration is going to drive it to go from region of high concentration to low concentration, and then it will equalize. And then it will equalize. Okay. For living cells, the principle of movement down a concentration gradient is the same, but the cell is surrounded by cell membrane, which can restrict free movement of molecules. So, for living cells, the principle of movement down a concentration gradient would still be the same, but the cell is surrounded by a cell membrane which restricts free movement. Now, you have to understand diffusion in normal places, in places where there is a general fluid or just gases. Okay? Akshara, can you keep
Yeah.
the speaker on?
Yes. Yeah.
Keep yourself unmute at all times, Akshara.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So here, the cell membrane is partially permeable. This means it allows some molecules to cross easily, but others with difficulty or not at all. So cell membrane acts as that barrier.
Question.
Sorry?
Is it possible for like some molecules are not good for the cell to enter through?
Okay, that's a good question. So let's see, and let's call this a cell membrane. Okay. What substances can come through? The nature of the substance, those that can pass through would be non-polar. Okay. Any substance that is non-polar or oily or oily or oil soluble. Oil soluble. All of these substances, they can freely pass through cell membrane.
So what about like if it's a virus or something, can't it get inside the cell?
One more time.
Like if it's a virus or like a disease, can't that get inside the cell?
Oh, it's a virus. You're talking about a virus. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just give this to you and understand this. A virus is a massive thing. Okay.
Virus
Okay.
is multiple cells together, so it can't enter one singular cell.
No, no, no. Viruses are way smaller than a typical cell. Okay.
Okay.
But like how much smaller? Let's say 10,000 times, 50,000 times smaller. Okay.
Okay.
So that's really small, by the way. Okay. That there's no problem. But at the same time, you have to understand a molecule that we are talking about, that this particular molecule can freely pass through the cell membrane, that is even 50,000 times smaller than the virus. Did you get the point now?
Yeah.
Yes. So when we are talking about things passing through the cell membrane, a virus can only pass through the cell membrane if the virus has a particular protein that can match with the protein of the cell surface membrane of the cell that it is trying to enter. If it matches, then that cell membrane by itself will enfold around it, swallow it down. Okay, that kind of, yes, that is
But
known.
sir, what happens when a virus is in, like if that happens, like a virus
Yes, so if the
goes through
virus
us?
can convince the cell that take me inside, then the virus can infect the cell. Then the
Okay.
virus can take on the machineries of the cell. And what the virus does is that the virus stops any function of that cell and causes the cell only to produce many, 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 many millions of copies of that virus.
Okay.
All right. So then the cell just goes on a overdrive of producing those viral particle. Now there are two ways. Sometimes those virus particle can leave the cell without harming the cell, like without damaging the cell completely. But in most cases, viruses cannot do that. Okay, meaning they
Okay.
can enter the cell, and after they enter the cell, they can't leave the cell just like that. So they increase in number, build up in number, like tens and thousands of them, and then they burst out the cell, means the cell dies, the cell gives off, and it bursts out that cell, and then those virus particle then gets into the blood. That's why you will see in any viral fever, you're going to have a normal body temperature and the fever will spike. And then it will come down after you have an analgesic or maybe you took some precautions, you will have a normal temperature. But immediate at like 6 hour mark, you will again have a spike. Okay. That's because in those times, you are releasing excessive load of viruses. And those viruses, when they get in your blood, your body's mechanism to stop that particular virus from spreading to other cells is to increase body's temperature. Now, that increase in temperature might be okay to stop the virus from entering some cell, but that increase in temperature is often lethal for us. Okay, it's a huge discomfort. We go in an overdrive in using all the body's resources to heat up the body. And number three is heating up causes our core temperature to increase so much that that may lead to overheating, and our enzymes will denature, cells will die, and we may die. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, our body does it only because it's in such a grievous danger that it wants to get rid of that particular thing. Okay, that virus, it doesn't want that virus to get inside cells. Now if this was a bacterial fever, see, bacterial fever usually rises up and never goes down.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
bacterial fever will rise up and never go down. So typically, whenever you get sick and you have a fever, you will see it goes up, it comes down, it goes up, it comes down. That means you have never experienced a bacterial fever. Whenever you will experience a bacterial fever, you will see without consuming antibiotic, you will not get cured. Okay. Like a
Okay.
normal painkiller, Panadol will have no effect on that fever. It will be like, you know, how to say this, in every way possible. All right, it will just discomfort you. Okay, and will not. Once you take antibiotic, then the bacterial load will decrease, and then your fever will go away. Okay. Now,
Okay.
many people, what they do, which is the big problem, is that they keep on taking that particular antibiotic only until they feel better. After that, they stop taking antibiotic, but they do not get cured. Okay. It's not like
Okay.
that bacteria will re-attack them again, but the bacteria gets the ability to fight that antibiotic and later on becomes resistant. Here is the thing.
Uh,
So cell membranes are partially permeable. This means they allow some molecule to pass through, others will not pass through. Non-polar substances, things that are oil soluble, an example of that would be oxygen. An example of that would be carbon dioxide, okay? Or any hormones for that matter, okay? All of this, please try and understand, they're far smaller molecule than a virus. Okay, they can all enter a cell membrane easily. Okay, why? Because cell membrane is made from phospholipid, which is oil, is oily. Main reason is that. Okay, now
okay.
other substances like non-polar and now polar. Polar, all right. Even example would be water. Okay, example would be sugar. They can only pass through the cell slowly. They can only pass through the cell slowly. Okay. If there is a very high concentration of this material outside the cell, they can pass through the cell slowly. Other than that, they may pass through the cell by using some special protein channels. Okay. Which is, these are protein channels that may allow them to pass through. Okay. Now, talking about it, this is not part that we will actually discuss much. So we will keep it as it is. All right, for now. Protein channels allow polar substances to readily pass through, but that bypasses the cell membrane. চশমাটা দিয়ে দাও। Okay. All right. So next,
Yes.
after that, any substances that have charges. Okay, any substances that have charges. For example, charge will be present in what? Sodium ion, potassium ion, chloride ion. All right, think of other things, phosphate. All of these ions, or calcium ion, they all have charges, and you know that our body needs them, right? So how will
Yeah.
we get them? We will get them only through, mostly through active transport or through protein channels. Mostly through active transport or through protein channels. That's because they are charged. So they cannot pass through the cell membrane. All right. Just like that, they can mainly pass through by means of active transport, and they can pass through by means of protein channels only. So they need permission. That's why it is said that the cells are semi-permeable, because some materials can go through easily, others cannot. Okay.
Okay.
Now, diffusion helps living organism to obtain many of their requirements, to get rid of many of their waste products, carry out gas exchange for respiration. So now, all right, in examples of diffusion in living organism, all right, we also need to think about plants. All right, plants also need to do diffusion. Now we will talk about why and what are the requirements. So
Okay.
substances, those that are requirements, this when we mainly mention glucose, amino acids. These are like substances in requirements. When we mention waste product, we are mentioning urea, all right, get rid of carbon dioxide and get rid of things like uric acid, these ones. And when talking about gas exchange, all right, gas exchange mainly refers to carbon dioxide and oxygen. Okay,
Okay.
these are the gases we would like to exchange. Now, do not forget to that plant require oxygen for respiration all the time as well. This is a particular key thing to remember. You will be tested for this. Okay, that plants also require oxygen all the time for respiration. So, as well as carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Okay,
Okay.
so carbon dioxide is a reactant for photosynthesis. Okay, when conditions for photosynthesis are right, so basically CO2 is only needed during the day,
Okay.
during light hours. Okay, whenever there is light. So if there is a light at night as well, let's say glowing on the plant, then it will need CO2. Okay, here, small intestine. Okay, in the small intestine, we can take the digested food products in, like glucose, amino acid, fatty acids, and glycerol. They can move by means of diffusion.
Okay.
In the leaf, oxygen. Leaf also needs carbon dioxide, so carbon dioxide as well, and water vapor. In the lungs, oxygen and
Just
carbon
a second.
dioxide. Sorry?
Yeah, what's glycerol?
Glycerol.
Oh, glycerol.
Yeah. So basically, any fat
Okay.
molecule or lipid molecule, okay?
Okay.
If we break it down, we get fatty acids. Along with it, we get glycerol.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since our body obviously breaks down fat, all right, in digestion process, so the fatty acid and glycerol needs to be absorbed. Now, the thing is, glycerol is a quite small molecule, even though polar, so can be just taken in by diffusion. And fatty acid is a non-polar molecule. So it can pass through the cell membrane by diffusion. You have learned, you have understood about it a little bit, all right? And based on the understanding, you will be able to answer questions, okay? Of course, a greater understanding will come as you will learn biological molecules. Yes, Akshara.
Nothing, sir.
So where does the energy for diffusion come from? All particles move randomly at all times. And this is called Brownian motion. The energy for diffusion,
Yeah,
yes,
our teacher said for art, what do you call um, topics? She said Brownian motion isn't coming.
sorry?
Our teacher, she said that Brownian motion isn't coming.
No,
That
Brownian, yeah, Brownian motion,
not in a syllabus.
yeah, yes, has been removed. All
Yeah.
right. But the thing is here, Brownian motion, you will be learning it both in chemistry, physics, all right, and biology.
Yeah, our teachers in physics, she didn't say anything. Only for bio and chemistry, our teachers said that Brownian motion isn't coming. That they said that it's been removed from the syllabus.
Okay. So, anyways, but diffusion is due to random motion of particles. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Diffusion is due to random
Let's see.
motion of particles. So here, Talking about the surface area to volume ratio. We already emphasized on this yesterday. The bigger the surface area, all right? The bigger the surface area, the faster the diffusion can occur. So increased surface area means greater diffusion. Many cells in the body are adapted for, all right, higher rate of diffusion by having greater surface area. This may include the root hair cells in plants, all right, because they absorb water and mineral ions, and cells in the lining of the ileum in animals, which absorbs the products of digestion. So they include glucose, amino acids, all of those. So having greater surface area means faster diffusion. Is equals to faster diffusion. Okay, so both of the root hair cells and the intestinal epithelial cell, if you notice, they have a protrusion that increases their surface area greatly. In the case for intestinal epithelial cells, you can see the cell membrane in the top region where the digested products are absorbed, there is a huge foldings, and that folding gives it greater surface area. So that is their cell adaptation.
Okay.
Here, the greater surface area is due to the root hair.
Straw.
Okay. Within the small intestine, there are many ways of increasing the surface area, and they start in this way. There are foldings within the small intestine. Okay, as you can see here, the foldings are quite visible. Okay, the foldings. Within that particular folding, there are many finger-like projection called villi. Okay, so these finger-like projections, the villi, now there are many of them, and that is being represented here in this particular picture. Okay, as you can
Okay.
see, in the villi, there is a blood vessel that is running, bringing in oxygenated blood and taking away deoxygenated blood away from the villus. So the villus is singular and the villi would be plural. These particular cells within the villus also, these are not cells, these particular, all right, finger-like projections, the villi, have cells in their cell membrane, which provides a greater surface area as shown in the previous picture here. So this type of cells are found in the surface of this cell, okay, which provides a even greater surface area. The main reason, the greater the surface area, the faster the diffusion of the digested food molecules. The smaller the distance, all right, have to travel, the faster the transport occurs. So as you can see, the blood vessel is right next to the outer layer cell. So if any nutrient molecules like glucose, amino acid are just right outside, they will be taken into the blood by means of diffusion.
Okay.
Now, once taken into the blood, the blood is continuously flowing. So the blood will carry it away from there. The blood will carry it away from there. Okay, so that new glucose and amino acid can be absorbed again and again. All right. Since the blood is flowing away, that particular region will not get saturated with glucose and amino acid. This is why blood capillaries and alveoli have walls which are only one cell thick to ensure the rate of diffusion across them is as fast as possible. Moving on, temperature. The higher the temperature, the faster the molecules move as they have more energy. So since they will collide with the cell membrane more often, there will be faster rate of movement across them. And that means higher temperature is equals to faster diffusion. So for distance, shorter distance equals faster diffusion. For temperature, higher temperature is equals to faster diffusion. For concentration gradient, the greater the difference in concentration gradient on either side of the membrane, all right, then the faster the movement across the membrane will occur. Meaning there must be a high concentration gradient difference. So let's consider this particular blue line as the
So
separation.
high concentration means there's more particles, right?
Yes, high concentration. All right, and low concentration. So a region with high concentration means more particles, and a region with low concentration means less particles. So faster diffusion will occur between them.
What?
Okay, so this is because on the side with the higher concentration, more random collision against the membrane will occur.
Okay.
So now we will have to, here, as we move on, all right, let's talk about the water and its part as a solvent. Water is important for all living organisms because many substances are able to dissolve in it. That includes polar and charged particles. An example of polar particles, I already told you, that would be, for example, glucose, sucrose, these are polar, okay? And whereas an example of charged particles would be ions, like sodium, potassium, okay? Now, and because, water is a very good solvent, that's why it is essential for all life on Earth. Water is important as a solvent in the following situations within organism. Dissolved substances can be transported easily around the particular organism. So xylem and phloem, they can easily carry dissolved food molecules. Okay. Now, xylem carry ions, doesn't carry food molecules, just dissolved nutrients like ions. Whereas
Okay.
phloem carries amino acid. Phloem basically carries product of photosynthesis, which is amino acid, or can consider sucrose. These are the main product that phloem carries. Digested food molecules are in the alimentary canal, but need to be moved to cells all over the body. Without water as a solvent, this would not happen. So digested food molecules we get in the alimentary canal, which means the small intestine. So digested food molecules will be carried from small intestine in blood to required organs or cells or tissues, wherever it is required. And that will also happen because water is acting as a solvent. Toxic substances such as urea, substances those that are excess in requirements such as salts, they can dissolve in water and we can remove it out of our body as urine. So water is also needed for excretion. Okay. Not to mention water is also needed for cooling down our body. So that's evaporative cooling. Now, water is also important part of the cytoplasm. Because many things are dissolved in water, metabolic reactions takes place in water. In your biology or chemistry laboratory, if you do chemical reactions, you will often do those chemical reactions dissolved in water. So water is used as a solvent by that means. Now, why water is able to dissolve a charged substances such as sodium chloride? Okay. The main reason why water can do it is because oxygens are partially negative in water molecule. The oxygens, they are partially negative. Since the oxygen are partially negative, the hydrogens are partially positive. And as a result, the partially positive portion faces away from the charged particles such as sodium ion here. They face away and the partially negative oxygen face towards the charged particles. This causes a separation between the original charges of sodium and chloride. They were bound by electrostatic force of attraction. They now, due to the influence of so many partially positive and partially negative, they lose their attraction and then they dissolve in the water. Okay. So water is a very good solvent. It can dissolve polar substances. It can dissolve substances with charges. The previous picture was an illustration of how it can dissolve substances with charges. Now talking about osmosis. Osmosis is the net movement of water. Okay, so you can consider it is a diffusion of water molecule from a dilute solution or high concentration of water to a more concentrated solution or low concentration of water across a partially permeable membrane. In doing this, the water is moving down its concentration gradient. How is so? As you can see, in this side, there is a lot of solute. Solute. The presence of solute decreases. All right. The term is water potential. Decreases water potential. But how to understand in common knowledge? This will be referred to as more concentrated solution. Whenever you cannot understand what is low water potential, then refer to it that it is a more concentrated solution or low concentration of water. But technically, water cannot have concentration. That part I explained yesterday. All right, so I'm not going to go through that again. So here, in this side, we only have water. That means since there is a presence of a lot of water, this will be high water concentration.
What?
Why'd you leave?
I didn't leave, man. How do I disconnect?
Sir, just a second. 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a time, guys.
Okay.
Huh?
All right. Can I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So more concentrated solution with solute decreases water potential, or we can just simply say low concentration of water. Now, this is only possible because the cell membrane is partially permeable. It allows small molecules like water to pass through, but does not allow large molecules like solute to pass through. That's why water potential or osmosis can have its effect. Now, osmosis experiments, before getting into that particular point, so see, here is the thing. Definition for osmosis. All right.
Diffusion water molecules from a high concentrated
So,
solution.
so just say like this: osmosis is the diffusion of water molecule from a dilute solution to a more concentrated solution across a partially permeable membrane. Since these particular things are mentioned in bracket, avoid writing them. Okay.
Osmosis is a it's a diffusion of water molecules from a dilute solution to a more concentrated solution across a partially permeable membrane.
So wait, I thought osmosis was a type of cell division.
I thought
Uh,
osmosis.
it's fine, no problem. Now you got the understanding.
Please melting osmosis.
So
There are
here,
some sublimation.
see, immersing plant cells in solutions of different concentration. This is the experiment that we do to find out what is the effect of osmosis. Okay. The most common osmosis experiment involve cutting a cylinder of root vegetable. This can be potato, this can be radish, this can be, these two are the common ones used, potatoes and radish. Okay. You can cut cylinders out of them by using a cork borer. All right, and placing them in distilled water and sucrose solution of increasing concentration. The cylinder are weighed before placing into the solution, and they are weighed after placing into the solution. They are left in the solution for 20 to 30 minutes, then removed, dried to remove excess liquid, and then reweighed. I'll tell you, maybe you have seen this often, or maybe, but sometimes when if there are visitors in the house and like your mom might prepare a salad or something, but along with some decorations, you know
Yeah.
might decorate it with some typically what they will use, like maybe they will use like a carrot. They will cut it like a leaf or like a flower and then dip it in water. Okay. And what the water does is that the water soaks into that carrot. Okay. And causes it to bend in such a way that it looks like a flower. Okay. Or maybe you have seen that when you have went in a restaurant, all right? Well, when the food was being served, it had some sort of decoration of a vegetable, okay? So in that particular sense, you have seen an experiment of osmosis, okay? In other times, a typical experiment of osmosis will be, maybe, are you guys vegetarian, all of you?
I am not Harshita and Vanita.
We're veg for Navaratri.
Oh,
Actually, Harshita.
all right. So only
Oh, well,
vegetarian for Navaratri. All right, okay. Anyways.
But I'm always veg.
Okay. So the thing is, sometimes to remove water from certain vegetables, we add a little bit of salt to it, so that the
Yeah.
process of losing water from that particular vegetable is faster while cooking. And then we drench the water out of the vegetable so that we can stir fry it, you know? So salt has a low water potential, or salt is equals to high concentration, means there is a low water concentration, so the salt soaks up that water, okay? All right, here a example with the radish. There are two cut pieces, one having this mass 1.03, the other having mass 0.99. Because these are randomly cut pieces, they may have different masses, not a problem, okay? They may have different length or thickness as well. That is also not a problem. But in one of them, we placed in a dilute sugar solution, which is 0.1 mole per dm cube. And the other one, we placed in a concentrated sugar solution, which is 1 mole per dm cube. So this one is 10 times more concentrated. 10 times more. Yes. So that you can visibly see the difference. You can see the mass of this particular piece of radish has went from 1.03 gram to 1.57 gram. That means the radish tissue has gained water by osmosis. It increased in size. Whereas the mass for this radish piece has decreased by 0.96 gram. So this one has lost water, and the water is lost by osmosis. So there is a decrease in mass. What happened? In overall understanding, the net movement of water was inside this radish. So water molecules were moving into the radish because the radish had a high concentration of solute, means low concentration of water. So water moved into the radish. Whereas in overall situation, water moved out of this radish because the outside had a high concentration of solute or low concentration of water. Did you understand the explanation? Okay, great. So you can see the experiment now, talking about how to set up the experiment and what it does. So if the plant tissue gains mass, water must have moved into the plant tissue from solution surrounding it by osmosis. The solution surrounding the tissue is more dilute than the plant tissue, which is more concentrated. If the plant tissue loses mass, then water has moved out of it. That means the solution surrounding the tissue is more concentrated. Remember, more concentrated means low water concentration. Okay, just for your understanding.
Okay.
If there is no overall change in mass, like let's say you did the experiment and there was no overall change in mass, that means the outside concentration is equal to the inside concentration. So even though water has moved in and moved out, but there was no net movement of water. So there has been no net movement of water, as the concentration in both plant tissue and the solution surrounding it must be equal. Remember that water will still be moving into and out of the plant tissue, but there wouldn't be any net movement in this case. Okay. Now we can also investigate osmosis by using a dialysis tubing. Okay. So a dialysis tubing is also known as Weisking tubing or Weisking tubing membrane. Okay, all right. What is it? A dialysis tubing, sometimes referred to as Weisking tubing, is a non-living, partially permeable membrane made from cellulose. The pores in the membrane are small enough to prevent the passage of large molecules such as sucrose, but allow small molecules such as glucose and water to pass through. So what do? We will first fill up this dialysis tubing, this one, with some sucrose solution. We will tie a knot at this end, and after filling up, we will tie a knot at the other end. Then we will wash that thing in distilled water to get any surface contaminants out. Okay. Then we will place it in distilled water because sucrose solution inside is going to give low concentration of water. Okay. Low concentration of water will be inside due to the presence of sucrose solution. And outside is distilled water, is high water concentration. So what will happen? Anitra, which direction the water will move? The water will move from the distilled water to the Weisking tube.
Low. I mean,
Okay?
the tube membrane.
Yes.
Membrane.
Yes. All right. Because there is a low concentration of water inside the Weisking tubing, so water will move inside the Weisking tubing. The rule is to pack this Weisking tubing very loosely, okay, in the beginning of the experiment. When you do the experiment, the rule is to pack this Weisking tubing very loosely, okay? And when water enters,
If we do it
well,
tightly, it won't.
okay? When water will enter, it will swell in size. Yeah, this is an experiment that your school teacher might actually show you, either in the classroom or school level.
Tubing like made out of like plastic or like something else?
This particular thing is made up of cellulose materials, all right? This thing is
That
made out
looks
of
Oh,
cellulose.
sir, I think we did this in chemistry. That's why it was familiar.
we didn't do this. We talked about it, but we didn't do it.
Okay,
I-
so this particular Weisking tubing is made from cellulose acetate. Okay. Actually, in future, if there is a plastic bag that is like a one-time use, and if you leave it in the environment, it will decompose. It will probably be made from cellulose acetate. Okay. All right. But anyways, this is a fun experiment that your teacher can show. I mean, I can understand why school might not show it because this thing is quite expensive.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, but not that much. When I did it for my students, for 200 students, you just need like maybe,
So we just have 36.
yeah, I mean, for 200 students, you maybe need like 200,
Total, not
200
like
gram
300.
worth of basking tubing. Yeah. I mean, it's not that expensive. No, it isn't. It isn't. Sorry, my bad. It isn't. I mean, taking into account, if you have a lot of students, it's just very cheap to buy because you have to buy it. You have to buy 200 basking tubings all at once. It comes in a big roll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then you cut 6 inches. But this is a fun experiment because if you do it yourself, the Weisking tubing feels like a plastic. Okay, in the beginning, if you dip it in water, then it opens up. All right, then it opens up. The ends opens up. Then you have to tie it, and that can be a quite a good, all right, stimulating exercise for a child to do. So here, osmosis in plant tissues. Water moves into a plant cell, the vacuole gets bigger, pushing the cell membrane against the cell wall. So in plant tissue, some plant, they hold themselves. They hold themselves rigid and firm only by using water. So How does it work? Okay, we're doing with green pencil so that it looks like it's plant tissues. Okay, here is the thing. We know that plant tissues can absorb as much as water they want. Okay, because their cell wall protects them from bursting. In animals, animal cells cannot take in as much as water they want. That's why you can literally cut a stem cutting, all right, of a flower or whatever, and directly dip it into normal water, and it still survives. If we put our red blood cell in normal water, it will swell and burst open. Okay, but a plant cell doesn't. So what is happening? This water, in turn, from inside, pushes on the cell. It pushes on the cell wall. Okay, so it gives this gives the water, this water pushing on the cell wall gives the plant its turgidity, its rigidity to stand tall. But don't consider this for like a very large plant. Okay, very large plant already has a woody stem and things inside it. Okay, that's for sure. But the leaves by themselves, they hold themselves in a certain shape, don't they? Like they hold
Yeah.
themselves straight, flat, in spite of all the wind shaking, trying to shaking it down, but they still hold pretty strong. How are they holding it? They are holding it due to presence of water, which is pushing in their cell wall, which is holding them rigid and firm. So water in plants is very important because it provides them support and strength for plant, making the plant stand upright. If it is a young plant, water is very important. You have seen probably if a young plant doesn't receive water, how they just go like this, and then you give it water. Maybe if it can survive, then it can still again stand tall again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Plants in Dubai are quite miskin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I hope to see a mango tree, you know. I
No,
all
I had poetry.
In Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it
do you
was.
see mango tree all
I
the time?
but I lived in an apartment, so it never really. It was growing very well, but
Oh,
I lived.
okay. You had a mango tree. Yeah. Please talk about
I
it.
grew it when she tried to. Yeah, it
Okay.
grew. It was
It
like a
grew,
big
like
tree.
it sprouted, but like
Mm.
But yeah, it was like a young tree. But then after that, I was living in an apartment, so the place for it was too small, and it
Yeah.
died after 4 years.
Died. Oh no. See, I told you, very miskin. You know. Anyways,
But it stayed for 3 to 4 years. It lived.
it lived for a very long time.
Yeah.
did you get mangoes from it?
No, it was too small. We did.
No, we were living in
live
an
in-
apartment, so
If we lived in a villa and put it, maybe it would have grown into a tree.
Uh, you got emotionally attached to the tree.
Yeah, I was like, I planted it when I was like 7.
Okay. All right. You can plant one now. It's okay. It would be a
Right, but
very
it died.
it would be a very fun sight to look at a mango tree in Dubai's desert. You
Yeah,
know?
I tried, but it didn't work because my dad made our garden into a decorative garden, so the stones literally everywhere.
Okay. So the pressure created by the cell walls stops too much water from entering. So again, the water enters as much as they can, then the water pushes on the cell wall, all right? And that prevents more water from coming in. Okay? So the cell doesn't burst. If by the way, if you were to plant that mango tree, probably your water bill would be half for that mango tree and half for you guys.
exactly.
Exactly. I know. Very sad. So if plants do not receive enough water, the cells cannot remain rigid and firm, and the plant wilts. Okay. So I mean, if a large plant do not visibly wilt, Okay, like it may not look like that, but at least you will see the leaves will go really fallen, like, it's almost dying. Okay, so in extended portion, we need to know osmosis is the net movement of water molecule from a region of high water potential. Remember, I was talking about water potential like before. So that's the part I was talking about. So what is high water potential? In many ways, I already tried to give you an explanation. Now I will try again. High water potential, I meant by high water concentration. Okay, concentration. I also meant high water potential by stating low concentration of solute. Low concentration of solute. And or you can think of dilute solution. And to a region of low water potential, which means concentrated solution. Again, the opposite terms apply here. All right, low water concentration or high concentration of solute. I'll just write it down. For some reason, water potential for a young student can be very, very confusing term. So I just want you to be vigilant about it. You will forget it and you will just come and recap here. That's it. All you do, come back and recap again. All right. And get your mind straight. Oh, like high water potential means high concentration, high water concentration, low concentration of solute or dilute solution. Just remember in that way and then recap your mind for the low water potential and do it 2-3 times. It will be an exercise and you will not forget it later on. You will understand that why do they say high water potential. You will understand what does it mean by that. Okay, so low water potential means low water concentration. Then low water concentration means high concentration of solute. Next, it can get a little confusing to talk about concentration of water. So we talk about solutions being concentrated, having a lot of solute in them. So instead we say that a dilute solution has high water potential and a concentrated solution has low water potential. Okay, I think I have made this particular point yesterday and I'll discuss about it later on again. All right. So, when we talk about water potential, we basically mean that what is its ability to dissolve something. Okay.
Okay.
If something
Okay.
has low water potential, this means that it does not have much more ability to dissolve something in it. Okay, because it is low water potential, means its potentiality is less. All right, in terms of dissolving something. And then vice versa. If it is high water potential, means it has a higher potential to dissolve something in it. Akshara, Hanitra, have you understood it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Harshmita, sorry I forgot to mention your name. But anyways, I think you have understood it. If not, please do ask question. This is the right time to ask question, trust me. Okay. So here, two solution placed side by side. One has more water, less sugar. The other one has less water, more sugar. So which one will have low water potential? The one that has more solute.
Sugar.
Very good. More sugar means low water potential. And
Yeah.
so just remember this example and every time water potential will put itself in its right position. High water potential is like uphill. So going to low water potential is like a downhill. Okay. Now the fun thing is, in order to achieve it, water will actually travel uphill. Did you get my point?
Yeah.
So the top part of the plant gets really concentrated because it lost a lot of water by evaporation. So it has low water potential. The root has a lot of fresh water. So the fresh water will then move from region of high water potential, even though they are lower in the ground. They will move against the gravity to go and meet the low water potential cells. Make sense?
Yeah.
So in the plant, it is assisted by xylem. Okay. So, all right, osmosis in plant and animal tissues. Now talking about, all right, plants in solutions of different concentration. Okay. All right. So again, let's go to the next page and see. This is a particular cell which is referred as turgid cell, meaning this cell has enough amount of water inside it. It is actually pushing towards the end walls with the water so that the plant can hold its structure. Okay. So this is a, all right, turgid cell. Turgid means it's rigid due to the push of water towards the cell wall. Okay. Now the next example is a plasmolized cell. This is a plasmolized cell. The word plasmolized means some cytoplasm has been lost. Some cytoplasm has been lost, all right, due to loss of water from the cell. So the
Okay.
outside region has low water potential. So water has moved out of the cell increasingly. Remember, the cell membrane will allow water to move out because it is not restrictive. Cell wall is not restrictive. It will move, it will allow water to move out if there is low water potential. And that caused this particular cell to shrivel like a raisin, right? If
Yeah.
it goes beyond repair, the cell will not be able to revive. Okay? So we will call this cell plasmolized. Usually, if a cell is plasmolized, the cell does not survive. Usually. But plant cells have very high ability to survive, to be honest, compared to an animal cell. Plant cells are not easily damaged because they are really protected by the cell wall from mechanical damages. So unless or otherwise they get damaged chemically inside, they don't necessarily die so fast. That's why you will see a plant that almost shriveled, almost dead, almost like nothing exists of it, and then you plant that particular root or whatever that is left behind, and slowly it starts to grow back because some actively dividing cells inside it were still surviving, so they kept on dividing, and once you provided the nutrients, it grew back. All right. Oftentimes, it's a planting technique. Understood? Any questions?
Yeah. No, sir.
So plasmolized can be also called flaccid. Remember that if the plant cells become flaccid, they can negatively affect the plant's ability to support itself, meaning it will not be able to stand straight. Okay? Akshara, you're saying something?
No, sir.
No, I was just saying that I was just telling to Akshara that we have 15 more minutes left.
Okay. So animal cells in solutions of different concentration. By the way, I think we have only 2-3 pages left. So get over these 3 pages. All right. If after that, if you need a help on your physics, let me know. And other than that, we'll call it a day and we'll close it. Okay. All right.
What does turgor pressure mean?
The turgor pressure, very good question. So the turgor pressure means, see, when the plant was pushing on its cell wall, right?
Yeah.
It
So the
was
pressure
exerting
got
a pressure, and that is known as the turgor pressure.
To prevent it from becoming too small?
No, it was giving the turgor pressure to allow the young plant to stand straight. Okay, the leaves to face towards the sunlight. I already talked about it, right? Remember that plants, they need to have the turgor pressure in order to stand straight. All right, they need to be rigid. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the water pressure that they were exerting on their cell wall by pushing it outside temporarily, that is known as turgor pressure. Plant can only do this because they live in a region of, their cells are always in a region of high water potential. Okay, their cells are always in a region of high water potential. A plant might be living in the sand, and the sand might have very little amount of water, but that does not change the concentration of the water.
Oh, okay.
This is a common misconception. In usually young people think like that because they think that sand has so little water. How is that going to absorb water from the sand? But what you have to understand here, sand do not get dissolved. Let's say this is a sand, and water can easily surround the sand. Okay, the water will neither penetrate the sand, neither the water will dissolve the sand. So if a root hair cell is right next to it, the root hair cell will just drink up that particular water. Okay,
Okay.
yes, there will be no problem whatsoever that there is a lot of sand and very little water. There will be no problem. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yes, but make sure it's not salty water. If it is salty water, no matter how much water you have, that plant is not adapted to, as I told you, low water potential. So the plant will lose water to the salty water, and the plant will plasmolyze, and the plant will die as a result. Yes. Now, in animal cells, we do not have any supporting cell wall. No supporting cell wall. So if we put our cells in solution that is hypotonic, meaning that is like pure water, that is like high water potential, high water potential. Our cells will gain so much water inside it that they will burst open. They will burst open because our cell membrane do not have any cell wall. If we put our cells in isotonic, then if one water molecule enters our red blood cell, for example, one water molecule will leave our red blood cell, meaning that we will not have any problem, all right, maintaining that red blood cell shape. So our blood is always isotonic. Did you get the point?
Yes, sir.
So if, let's say, if you haven't drink water, okay,
Okay.
if you haven't drank water, and all right, usually what our urine looks like after that, very yellowish, a lot of, feels like a lot of minerals are getting out of the body and vitamins, right?
Yeah.
So how our blood maintains the isotonic properties? If our body salt concentration goes high, our body loses the salt, not the water, a lot. Tries to hold the water. So it loses the salt, holds the water, and as a result, all right, we stay isotonic. But that comes with a cost. We lost our valuable salt, which we needed in our body. So how do we replenish? We replenish by saline solution. We drink it, or we can drink a Gatorade maybe. All right. So that will be isotonic. Yeah. Anyway, some people like Gatorade a lot, right? And then some people just
I
hate.
don't like it.
It tastes so bad.
It is so bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a common thing. You see, there are two types of people. One that loves Gatorade, like Gatorade and then life. And then there's another type of people will be like, it tastes like chemicals. Yeah, I
It
know.
does. the chemicals. They don't even let people
They don't even
under
try.
18 to like buy it in some
Exactly.
places.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
food.
because
We
last
carry
year
food.
for my friend's birthday, we went out and we went to carry food. They didn't let my friend get her Gatorade
Yeah.
because she was less than 18.
Wow. That is. Could you get a Red Bull if you wanted to?
No, we can't.
No.
I'm not sure.
If
Well,
it has
apparently-
too much electrolytes, I don't think
No,
they let us.
No,
buy
I
it.
think the Gatorade had a.
No, too much caffeine. If it has too much caffeine, they will not let you have it.
No.
Gatorade doesn't have
I don't know.
alcohol.
They don't.
Gatorade must have caffeine. What are you saying? Sports drink not having caffeine?
He said it has alcohol. It does not have alcohol, Gatorade.
No, Gatorade don't have alcohol, but has caffeine.
Yeah, it's too
Giving
much.
young people caffeine is like giving, like a
My teacher,
monkey,
my sister drinks
car,
2 bottles
you
of.
know?
What's wrong with drinking 2 bottles of coffee, bro? Huh?
Drinking what? What did you drink?
2
2
bottles
bottles
of
of coffee in the morning.
Ooh,
So
wow.
all
I
people
think
keep
this is
that-
only Hanitra can do. This is a task only
It's
for
fine.
Hanitra.
Coffee, if you have it, I have cold coffee, so then it's fine.
I don't like cold coffee. I like warm hot coffee.
Hot coffee.
I don't like hot coffee.
My sister hates coffee. She literally said that she gets stomachache.
So drinking coffee leads to caffeine addiction. Okay. The main problem is young people don't know the limit. Understand? So
Yeah.
they will get so enthused about it. They'll end up drinking 10, 20 cups of coffee, not knowing that drinking too much coffee can lead to heart attack, even at young age.
So if you drink like 10 cups of coffee, you'll start to have a heart attack by you reach 7. You can really die of too much caffeine.
Like 7 cups probably will not give you a heart attack, but I'm sure you will be jumping like a monkey. That's for sure.
So I can do that without caffeine.
Exactly.
Yeah, see, that is the beauty of young age. Okay, I can do that even drinking 7 cups. So, I mean, like I can't physically do it. There's a difference. There's a difference. Like you can't do it mentally and then you can't do physically. Okay. All right. So here is the thing. If animal cell placed in strong sugar solution, all right. See, strong sugar solution will be hypertonic. Again, I want to connect the words. Okay. I want to connect the words. Hypertonic means, example would be strong sugar solution. So the cells will lose water. Understood? Hello?
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. Hypotonic means distilled water. It's just like, I mean, I'm just giving example, okay? It is just like distilled water. And what is that? That is hypotonic, meaning it will gain too much water. The cells will gain too much water. And if cells gain too much water, animal cells will burst open.
Oh my god.
We don't have we don't have cell wall. We only have cell membrane. Cell membrane is too soft. And isotonic is like our blood. Okay, that's why isotonic drinks are good. Like have a coconut water. Okay, instead of having that caffeine, have coconut water. Okay. I know that will not do too much to your tiredness that you're feeling, but also you have to understand tiredness is not supposed to be, you're not supposed to fight.
If you have it
with
like
caffeine.
when it's really hot, it's
Go
fine.
sleep, bro. Go sleep, bro.
If it's
Sorry?
very hot, then you can have it. Then it's refreshing.
What, like if you have isotonic drink when it is very hot outside, is it?
Yeah, like coconut water, if it's like very hot outside, then if you drink it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
very, you don't feel like to drink.
Yeah. Coconut water, right? I mean, tastes bad after you drink one or two. It does taste bad. I mean, the potassium inside it.
From the pure one, like in
Hmm.
India, directly from
Are
it,
you
then they
talking
give-
about Yeleni?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is
yeah.
coconut, Ashita.
Yeah,
Ashita,
but-
what do you think coconut water is?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the coconut. I was like, oh. அதுவும் நல்லா இருக்கும். People do drink coconut.
We are talking about coconut in this moment, but anyways, let's talk about this one. Active transport. If you notice, the portion for active transport is just 2 pages, okay? Even though we talked about diffusion for so long, right? Please, sometimes we have to move materials against concentration gradient, meaning we have to take it from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration using energy. So, learn this definition. Can you read it out, Hanitra?
Sorry.
Ashwita?
Active transport is the movement of particles through a cell membrane from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration using energy from respiration.
Okay. So, active transport requires energy.
Last one to read it.
Active transport requires energy.
Transport.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, energy comes from respiration. There is no question into that. So I'll just keep it at that. Okay. But active transport also requires a carrier protein. What does it require? A carrier protein. Please remember that. These substances that we are trying to put inside the cell, we have high concentration. And outside the cell, low concentration. So if we want to move it, we can only move it using energy and using transporter. These are carrier protein. They are also called transporter protein. Okay. So one thing can have many names, and that's the example of it. Okay. So carrier protein, transporter protein. What do? They use energy from respiration. Remember that active transport is not possible. Active transport is like going uphill. It is like going literal uphill. Low concentration, high concentration. The only way you can go uphill is using energy. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so just so that you remember, and one more time, a recap of osmosis. This is not active, this is passive. Okay, do not need energy from respiration. Okay, let's go back up and talk about diffusion a little bit. Is diffusion active or passive? Active means need energy from respiration, and all right, passive means does not need energy from respiration. Can anyone answer? Is diffusion active or passive?
Diffusion is
I think it's active.
active.
Diffusion is passive. It does not need energy.
Didn't one of the definitions say active transport somewhere?
Active transport is the last one.
What's that?
I say diffusion is a passive process, does not need energy from respiration.
Oh, so active needs energy. Couldn't hear you when you said that.
Okay.
I said it.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
he's active and passive.
Here, look. Finally, importance of active transport needed by extended students. Okay. Active transport moves substances against concentration gradient. What do we take by active transport? We may sometimes uptake glucose in epithelial cells by active transport. We may also do that in the kidneys because glucose is an important respiratory substrate. Because glucose is important respiratory substrate. So if we have eaten some glucose, we must get it in our blood, regardless of how much glucose we already have it in our respiratory substrate. Okay. So we should get it in our blood. All right. So that's why it is sometimes taken in by active transport, but most time it is taken in by diffusion. Uptake of ions from soil, water, and root hair cells. So this is uptake of ions. Ions are charged.
Okay.
And plant cells already have more ions than the surrounding soil. So plant cells absorb that particular nutrient by active transport. Okay. So how does active transport work? Uses a carrier protein. Substances combined with the carrier protein. As you can see, substances coming in, combining. Okay. Carrier protein transport substances across membrane using energy from respiration, giving them kinetic energy needed to change shape and pass them through the cell membrane to the other side. Okay. Substances are released into the cell. We are done with this particular note. Please keep
Okay.
your focus and your understanding clear about osmosis. Is the movement of water down the water potential gradient, okay, or down the water concentration gradient. Remember, being an extended student, the concentration wording is a wrong wording. You cannot use, you can only use it for understanding, okay? And
You
then,
can't use concentration for a word
It's a
divided,
low
right?
water transport or something.
all right,
Oh,
and then
but you can use concentration, right?
No, you can't.
in
Oh.
osmosis for water, you cannot use concentration. You have to
So
talk
what
about,
are you?
water potential, okay?
No water
Remember,
potential.
high water potential is equals to low solute concentration, and low water potential is equals to, all right, high solute concentration. Okay. And then active transport requires energy to move substances against concentration gradient. Active transport involves some carrier protein changing shape, so it requires energy from respiration. Okay,
Okay.
guys? So we're done with the lesson. All right. See you in the next lesson then. Bye. Take care.
Okay.